To be honest, losing weight was a big struggle for me, and it probably looks like sunshines and rainbows because I placed top 5 in the world. I'm pretty lean all year round, and when I want to cut for a photo shoot or just feel better for the summer and that type of thing, you guys can see me do it like clockwork. And you've probably seen others discover the same thing because something just clicks. And in today's video, I want it to click for you so you can burn belly fat, build muscle, and be on a diet plan that creates a new lifestyle for you that's actually sustainable, that fuels you instead of burning out and being on that up and down dieting roller coaster. So to understand how you can burn the most amount of fat that's actually sustainable within your lifestyle, we have to understand that losing 1% of your body weight per week is the fastest you want to go. This way you'll maximize fat loss, but also maximize the amount of muscle you could potentially gain and maintain to prevent you cutting all the way down and just looking skinny fat. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you'll want to lose 2 pounds per week. If you weigh 250 pounds, you're going to want to lose 2.5 pounds per week. And some of you might be thinking that this might be a slow rate of fat loss, although this is the same rate that I use when I place top 5 in the world anytime that I cut, and over 500 busy professionals like yourselves. Now, the first thing you want to do is download the free version of MyFitnessPal. You're going to be tracking your food on a daily basis to see what your average daily caloric intake is at the end of the week. And during this week, you're also going to want to weigh in every single morning before you consume anything and after the restroom if you need to use it. And over those 7 days, you're going to see a trend. Did you overall maintain your weight? Was it trending down or was it trending up? So if you're already losing 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week, you can keep your calories exactly the same. But if you're maintaining your weight, you can drop your average calories by 400 to 500 per day. And if you were gaining a little bit of weight, then what you can do is drop your calories 700 to 800 calories per day. The second way to calculate your calories is to go online and use a calorie calculator. And I'm not the biggest fan of this because this is going to be an average and it's very generic. But you can do the same thing to make sure it is customized to your body and weigh in every single day and make the adjustments needed to ensure you will consistently lose weight over time. Now that we have your calories set up, we have to adjust the composition of those calories by adjusting the macro intake. By adjusting the composition of the calories, we'll be able to control the composition of your body, and which will control your body fat percentage. The most important macro that we want to look at is your protein intake. And because we are looking at a more aggressive cut, we want to be on the safer side of protein intake. Now, looking at the research, you want to intake 0.82 to 1.4 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. Now, that's probably a little bit annoying to calculate, so you can stay on the safer side of things and get 1 to 1.1 grams of protein per pound of body mass. So calculating that is probably going to be a little bit annoying. So what you can do instead is just get in 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And just like protein, we need to control your fat intake because it is an essential nutrient and you need it to live. Your fat intake will control your hormones. So if you ever feel lethargic or you're feeling off, it could be because your fat intake is too low. Now, the amount of calories you want to put towards your fat intake is going to be 20 to 25%, and I wouldn't go anything lower than 45 to 40 grams of fat per day. Now that we know your protein intake and your fat intake, we can calculate the remaining calories to go to your carb intake. Since 1 gram of protein is 4 calories and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, we can add those calories up to see how many calories we have left over. Because carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram, you can take the remaining amount of calories, divide it by 4 to see what your carb intake should be. Now that you have your calories and protein set up, you probably have done that in the past and failed because tracking is a little bit annoying and can be overwhelming. And if you want extra help with this, I do have a macro tracking pro bundle that I give my busy professionals to make it a little bit easier, obviously absolutely free. If you go to my Instagram at patty.lifts and just DM me the word macros and I'll send it over. Now, in a training aspect, because our goals are hypertrophy based, we need to make sure we're following the specificity principle and we're optimizing our training around bodybuilding or hypertrophy. Now, to do this, we can look at the rep schemes that we are going to use. We're going to want to have 50% of our reps between the 8 to 12 range, 25% of our reps between the 5 to 7 range, and the last 25% of the reps between the 13 and 30 range. Now, all of these rep ranges, as long as you go close to failure, will have very similar amount of stimulus stimulus towards hypertrophy, where the sweet spot is going to be that 8 to 12 range, where research shows over 4 to 6 weeks, your body's going to get used to that stimulus, so you are going to have to make an adjustment to your training plan. And as I mentioned, we need to take those sets close to failure, but we also need enough sets. Now, looking at the research again, we want to make sure we're getting in between 10 to 20 effective sets per muscle group per week to optimize muscle hypertrophy. Now, looking at that a little bit deeper, more isn't always better. There's going to be a curve relationship where if you're not getting enough, you're going to be leaving some gains on the table. And if you're doing too much, you could be getting diminishing returns. We want to find that sweet spot at the top of the curve to figure out what amount of sets you need for your body to make sure that you're progressing at the fastest rate. So to do this is to set up your training plan. So on a weekly basis, you are going to try and progress on a week-to-week basis. When you are in the gym, we want to make sure you're adding reps or you're adding weight to ensure you're progressing on a week-to-week basis, even though you are in a cut. And if you intentionally program, you are going to see progress in the gym and your physique is going to show, because the number one mechanism for muscle hypertrophy is mechanical tension, which is volume. So to give you an example of this, if day one and your first exercise is bench press, you go in there and your first set is 200 pounds for 10 reps. The week after, you're going to want to shoot for 11 reps or go for 205 pounds for the same 10 reps. Now, moving on to intensity, where I see a lot of people make a huge mistake is they drop their intensity down because they're cutting. Yes, recovery is going to be affected by cutting down because you're going to be in a caloric deficit, but you want to make sure you are getting in appropriate RIR or RPE. So if you want to ensure you're getting the most amount of progress, you want to hit each set at least 5 reps before failure. And personally, I like to stay within 3 reps of failure, because if you aren't training hard enough, you're not giving your body enough stimulus to actually grow or maintain the muscle that you have. And if you push it hard enough, you're going to provide yourself that stimulus, so your body's going to continue to grow. You are going to get stronger and you can progress over time. And I personally used to make this mistake, because the deeper I got into a cut, the less strong I would be, and it would get to my head and I would put my ego at the forefront. I'd actually drop my reps down and I would continue to lift heavy, but I would rob myself from providing my body an optimal hypertrophy-based stimulus, and I was providing my body more of a strength-based stimulus. So unlike the old me, put your ego aside and stay within those hypertrophy-based rep ranges and continue to keep the intensity high. Now, looking at cardio, where I see a lot of people make big mistakes is that they try to get the majority of their deficit by doing endless hours of cardio in the gym. Now, there's 2 problems with that. Number 1, you want to provide the most amount of stimulus towards your muscle building goals, which is going to be the weight training. And if you do too much cardio, you're going to be negatively affecting your recovery as well as your performance in the gym, which will burn off all of those hard-earned gains you made in the off season. Instead, I want to follow the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your deficit is going to come from your diet and 20% of your deficit is going to come from cardio. Now, the easiest way to set this up to ensure that it is sustainable, so you're not running yourself into the ground, is to set up 2 to 3 cardio sessions per week for only 20 minutes, light intensity for only 20 minutes. Naturally, as you go through a cut, you're just not going to be as active as you were, eating as much food as you used to. So the way we can control this is by looking at your step count, by looking at your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is all the exercise that you do outside of the gym, such as taking out the garbage, typing on a keyboard, just walking around the house and doing random things. You actually burn more calories than when you're doing cardio and when you're in the gym. So to mitigate that going down as you go through the cut, we want to look at the step count. Now, looking at 10K steps on a daily basis is pretty extreme, and it's a very arbitrary number, where I would look at your current step count now and add on 1,000 to 2,000 extra steps per day. Now, if you don't have a wearable device, you can just use your iPhone. It's something that I personally like to do, but just make sure to keep it in your pocket when you are training. Now, personally, I've been implementing this plan over the last 4 weeks, and I'm going to continue this mini cut over the next 4 weeks, and I'm going to document my progress along the way so you can implement a lot of the strategies that I'm doing doing as a busy professional myself. So if you want to make this process a little bit easier, absolutely free, you can go to my Instagram at patty.lifts and just DM me the word macros, and I'll send over my pro macro tracking bundle absolutely free. And if you just want me to do this step by step for you, make the adjustments needed for your body and your lifestyle as a busy professional, just go to my Instagram, DM me the word coach, and at the very least, I can just forward you in the right direction. So other than that, guys, I'm happy to be back on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.